For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
There are conflicting signs regarding the standing of President Jacob Zuma in the ANC as well as the country at large. How do you see his future as the leader of the ANC as well as the country?
Yeah, you know, in the last month or so, you've had surprising people expressing reservations about President Zuma and that perhaps he should resign. People like Jackson Tembu, Matole, Motsecha, and a number of people cautiously expressing their views. And I think this question comes in the aftermath of yesterday's vote of no confidence. Now, I can't understand how people have illusions about a vote of no confidence, thinking that some ANC MPs are going to just vote with their conscience. First of all, once you are in Parliament, you are part of a caucus, whether you're in the DA, the IFP, COPE, or the ANC. And if you want to stay there, you do what the caucus decides. So even if you voiced your conscience a few weeks before this, not knowing that there's going to be a vote of no confidence, and everyone is going to point to you and say, look, even this one voted yes, people have to stick by it. It's a condition of being an MP. So the decision isn't really just about whether you're unhappy with Zuma, but whether you want to be right outside of parliamentary politics. And there's no chance that what oratory the DA may offer or the EFF is going to lead people to make a hasty decision over something which affects the immediate economic security, the various economic commitments that they've made, a whole lot of things. So that I can't understand how people don't see that this can only be symbolic, that you go there and you want to declare that by voting to keep Zuma, you're voting for state capture, you're voting for corruption, you're voting for illegality, all these sorts of things. You say those things because very many people in the country are definitely outraged. But you have people writing on social media about how did Derek Hanekom vote and how did Matole Motsecha was away and Pravin Gordhan was away. Now, it doesn't mean that they were away because they weren't going to vote. They probably had other business. And even Pravin Gordhan, who's being harassed by the law enforcement agencies, probably at the instigation of you-know-whom, even Pravin Gordhan, so long as he wants to remain minister and wants to remain MP, will vote that way. Now, I'm not suggesting this is just opportunism and things like this. It's just that we must understand that people enter into a job with certain conditions. And those conditions require you to abide by the discipline of the organization. Nevertheless, there is clearly a groundswell of unhappiness in the ANC. There are these reports of branch meetings wanting Zuma to go, being unhappy with the way certain things were decided by the National Working Committee and the National Executive Committee. You had Mantashe saying Zuma must act according to his conscience, And then you have the NWC having a meeting and coming out and saying the whole matter of the public protector's report must go on judicial review, and there's no reason why her recommendation that the judge who does this commission should be appointed by the Chief Justice should be abided by. Now, my guess is that failure to abide by that, if they were to have Zuma appoint the judge, it could well be a replication of last year's Constitutional Court decision on the power of her recommendations. So they're likely to go, they seem to have decided to close ranks. And I think what it seems to suggest is that even though, you see, with all these things happening, state capture report, withdrawal of charges against Pravin Gordhan, all of these things, reinstatement of McBride. Didn't hear from Zuma for a while, but then he was playing ping pong, he was playing chess, he was dancing, he was attacking the stalwarts, all these things, so that there's a lot at stake in terms of what you do. In Britain, there have been much less, in Britain and the United States, there have been much smaller scandals. Watergate was nothing compared to the scandals that you have in South Africa. And President Nixon went out over Watergate. In Britain in about 1963, one of the ministers, Fuma, had an affair with a prostitute and he resigned. That was like a shocking scandal for the time. Now, South Africa leaves these people in the shade. But at the same time, there's a lot at stake in the sense that the people who support Zuma and Zuma himself want to find a way of holding on to what they've got and not finding themselves in the dock in a court. And they still would like to get some way of ensuring that if there's a transition from Zuma, or when there's a transition from Zuma, it doesn't result in Zuma being charged, other people being charged, because there's a lot of irregularities in other parts of the so-called Premier League in Northwest, in Free State, in Mpumalanga, also related to ministers who are in the Women's League who also support him. So there's a sort of paralysis in the ANC. There's a sense that Zuma is losing them votes, that the approval rating, I think the SACP quoted this, the approval rating of the president is much lower than the approval rating of the ANC. And in Mandela's period, it was just the opposite. You know, everyone loved Mandela, not everyone loved the ANC. And I think they don't want they don't want to lose more votes, and the way they are heading seems to me towards a situation where they can be defeated in 2019, but they don't have a way out of it.
And if there's a stalemate, how is it going to pan out?
You know, it seems to me that you've got things happening as a result of the local government elections. That is another factor which, if the DA plays its cards well, is going to seep away at ANC support in the long run. You've got the situation of professional people like Vusi Pikoli going to work for the Western Cape DA-led government as police ombudsman. You've got Louisa Zondo leaving the Public Protector's Office, I think also working for the DA. You've got General Sabia going to work for the Johannesburg mayor mayoral metro. So you've got a situation where there's a lot of incentive for the DA to do things well, to do things better than the ANC, and they haven't yet got these tight networks of patronage that the ANC, they may get them, but they haven't got them yet. Consequently, the ANC is building up problems for itself by holding on to Zuma, while simultaneously the DA is actually methodically, in a low-key way, going about doing its business. I mean, when you listen yesterday to, I didn't listen to a lot of the debate, but I was listening to James Self, for example, of the DA. And I didn't think I'd see the day that I would think that the DA people were talking sense, you know. They were talking much more sense than the ANC people. ANC people were just giving conspiracy theories, things like this, so that in public imagery, all sorts of things, the ANC may have won this no confidence debate, but they're building up trouble for themselves.
Thank you, Professor. That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about whether Zuma was becoming stronger or weaker.